Hey, what's up, everybody? This is going to be a special contest video for Aaron Pynn. He just went over 350 subscribers just recently. So I want to congratulate Aaron Pynn. He's a great, fantastic, very knowledgeable man here on YouTube of films and cinema and television. He's a fantastic guy to listen to. I just absolutely love watching his videos. He gets so much into depth about what he's talking about, and he really knows what he's talking about. And he's like almost like a film encyclopedia. I mean, this guy is so knowledgeable. He's so enjoyable, very likable man he is, and a fantastic YouTuber. So also, I almost forgot, today's Aaron's birthday. How you doing? Happy birthday, Aaron. Happy 21st birthday, buddy. So now you're of legal drinking age now. Well, I believe in Canada is 18, but you already passed that. So, but anyway, his question was for the contest that he's holding, and it's a good contest, by the way. It's for the Criterion edition of Breathless, French film by I forgot the director's name, Jean-Luc Godard, I believe. And his questions were, what's your ambitions and what made you like want to get into collecting films, and you know, what drove your passion, and particularly for starting a movie collection or loving movies. Well, I gotta say, I was about 6 years old, and the very first time I went to the movie theaters, I actually went with my mom, and she took me to see Popeye, the movie with Robin Williams, and I forgot the other actress in the film. She was the lady from The Shining. I can't remember her name right now, and I believe that movie was directed by Robert Altman, if I'm not, if I stand correct. But that was my very first time experiencing a film. So I went to see Popeye when it came out, it was released. And I had a fantastic time watching that film. I love the musical score. I love Popeye. And overall, it was a good movie. And that's one movie that I would like to own in my collection, which I don't have, because that was the very first film that I seen in theaters. But that really drove like my passion. After that, I watched that film. I came home, and I was so fascinated by it. Obviously, it's a children's movie. I was very young, and along with that movie in particular, I started like most of my times at coming home from school, watching certain television shows. Like for instance, I used to watch like animation, like Thundercats, Voltron. I used to like Fraggle Rock and The Muppet Show. They used to show it here at night. The fantastic shows. So little by little, I was getting interested. That like kind of opened my world to different things. So I was very like interested, and eventually owning the things that I tend to love. So, and then I was introduced also to collecting by a good friend of mine, who I speak to now here and then, who used to collect movies, and his particular, obviously at the time, was VHS. They had Betamax and Laserdisc at the time, but his specialty was VHS. So he was a good friend of the family, and there was times I would go to his house to invite me over, and I would be fascinated by his VHS collection. I was so like, whoa, this is cool. And so he kind of like, he was telling me, this is my movie collection. Maybe you should try it out and stuff. But at the time, a lot of people might not know this, but at the time, VHS tapes were very, very expensive. I believe they were going for like almost $100 a pop, as I remember. So, me being a young boy, it was very hard to be able to ask my mother, "Hey mom, can I have $100 so I could buy a movie?" So that was virtually impossible for a kid my age. But he also also introduced me, instead of buying the movies, people used to set up their VCRs, have their one particular one that will play movies, and then it will connect another VCR with the cable jacks, and used to rent the movies and then buy a blank tape and then record them. So in actuality, you're not spending over $100. So if you like a movie, you could just probably pay, I think it was maybe $10 for a blank VHS tape. Go to the local video store, pop in your favorite movie, press play, and then hit record on the other VCR, and there you go. You have yourself a copy of the movie you like. So after he introduced me to that, I just became obsessed with movie collecting, and ever since I was a boy, I used to go out to the video stores, rent 4 or 5 movies, and basically cram them all into one video cassette. And as time grew by, as time went by, my collection grew and grew and grew. I eventually went on into the Laserdisc phenomenon, and I started collecting Laserdisc. Also, I had a good fascination with collecting Laserdisc movies, and also my very first movie, I forgot to mention, that I actually owned a physical copy of, was the 1970s remake of King Kong with Jeff Bridges. That was my first movie that I ever had as a physical copy in my collection, along with my other recorded VHS tapes of other films. So that movie holds true meaning to my heart, because that was the very first movie, and actually my mom bought me that movie because I used to watch it a lot on television. They used to show it a lot back in the early 80s, and that was my first physical copy. And then I went on to just record stuff that I see on TV. I used to enjoy the old wrestling from back when it was the WWF. I used to record all the Saturday morning wrestling shows, cartoons. So basically that's how I became addicted into the whole realm of film collecting. And also I used to go a lot to the movie theaters. Here in New York, you have, at the time, they had so many movie theaters, particularly Times Square, where it was like the cult cinema capital of the world. Every cult movie went through 42nd Street, literally, whether it's kung fu, horror, sexploitation, blaxploitation. They played there first. So I used to go as a kid. Sometimes I'll go with a family member. We'll go watch these films. And they also used to be a Grindhouse theater. There's no longer there, about 3 blocks away from where I live, where they used to show 2 movies for $5. So every Saturday I would go early, wake up early, and spend the entire day at the cinema. But it just the world of movies just drew me in deep, the stories, the characters, these movies I was watching. I used to love watching ninja movies. I loved all the canon ninja movies. Those were my favorites. Sam Furstenberg, his movies. I used to watch, I grew up obviously a Godzilla fan. I loved Godzilla as a kid. And all that tied in together led to me also venturing into comic book collecting, cards, for instance, buying baseball cards. So it basically was a chain reaction from my love for films, and it just kept going and going and going. But so until this day now, I still love collecting. I no longer have my VHS tapes. They all basically, I have them in storage out in New Jersey somewhere, if they're still around. And my Laserdisc collection, I had a big vast of Laserdisc movies. I gave them away, but those Laserdiscs are no longer in my possession. But it's just that there wasn't that much to do. Like a young kid, meaning there's lots to do in New York, but a kid my age growing up here in Brooklyn, it was either going to the movies or doing things that you shouldn't be doing. So obviously my mother preferred to give me money to go to the cinema, and then she knew where I was, and then she'll come eventually pick me up, or I'll walk back home, or go with a family member to Times Square and check out all the cult movies they used to show. But yeah, so ever since then, you know, that it first started with Popeye. Then from Popeye I went to the television shows. Like I said, I love Voltron, Thundercats, Fraggle Rock, The Muppet Show. Also like the $6 Million Man. It was a very fantastic, good television show. V, also the early V miniseries that became a movie from the 1980s. But it just opened up my universe to cinema. And now I'm expanding my my love for cinema a little bit more. I'm trying to get into more classic films, more older films. You know, thanks to Mr. Aaron Pynn, you right there, buddy. You are very, like I said, you're a very knowledgeable person, and you know, I admire listening to you and what you have to say. And that's how it is. I think people on YouTube should realize that, yeah, we do this because we love movies, we have a passion for films, but also we can learn from one another. You know, it's always a learning process with anything in life. That's how I see it. You know, believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this. I used to be a semi-pro hockey player up in Canada. I used to play junior hockey in the Toronto area, the greater Toronto area, a very small town. And that was another ambition I had, you know, besides collecting movies. But my point being is, you always learn something new. Okay? My coach told me when I was playing junior hockey, you know, no matter how good you think you are, you always are going to learn something new. Like Wayne Gretzky, perfect example, the greatest hockey player that ever lived, he actually admitted, you know, every time I play, I learn something new. So even though I've been collecting for a long time, and I love all types of movies, genres, and I'm getting more deeper into the past and watching older movies, you always learn something. And I learned a lot from Mr. Aaron Pynn in particular, because he is a much more older gentleman than I am, and he has more of a vaster knowledge of films than I do, because I grew up basically, you know, in the late 70s into the 80s and 90s. So I was used to those type of films. You know, a lot of the New York crime movies from the 70s, like Serpico, Dog Day Afternoon. So I don't want to sound like I'm ramblings, Mr. Pynn, but that's, you know, that's what drove me. And like I said, we always here on YouTube, I look at it as not only that you're showing your ambition of love of cinema, but also by watching others, you learned. And there's nothing wrong with learning at all. You know, I see the philosophy like this: you live once, and if you have a passion for it, regardless of what people tell you, continue to do what you love to do. No one should tell you anything otherwise, because there might be a time in your life, and you might look back and say to yourself, damn, I should have tried that, and because people said this and this and that about me, I quit. To me, that's a bunch of BS. I think you should just do what you do, love it, and like I said, you live once, why not try it and stick with it as long as you can. So that's why I chose to continue my movie collection, because I actually stopped when I went up to Toronto to play junior hockey, and my concentration was mostly on hockey. But when I was no longer playing hockey, I went back to the films, and about that time, that's when the DVDs were dwindling down and the Blu-rays were introduced. And ever since then, my collection came back, and my ambition came back even more. But anyway, so that's my video response to you, Mr. Pynn. Hope you liked it. I hope it wasn't too long for you. I mean, I'm trying to open up my heart to you, sir, and I appreciate your kind words and the things you comment on my channel, and I appreciate everyone on YouTube. I mean, absolutely everyone, you know, and I learn from everyone. Believe it or not, I'm not afraid to admit it. You learn something new, and there's nothing wrong with that. It just makes you a better person. and it opens up your mind even more, and you have a better understanding about certain things. But anyway, Aaron, congratulations, my friend, on 350 subs. You're definitely going to get a lot more. And please don't ever stop filming, because you're like one of the first guys I always go and watch and listen to what you have to say. You gotta pardon me, I'm coming. I had a little cold as the weather's crazy here in New York. But I appreciate you, Aaron. I appreciate the time and effort you put into your videos, my friend. So I want to say thank you and all the best to you and your family and your other half. I don't know her name, but how you doing? Nice to meet you. And all the best in health and prosperity, my friend. And that's my video response. Take care, Aaron. And hopefully I could win this beautiful prize you're giving of Breathless. So that's it. That's my response. 16 minutes long. Sorry, but I'm trying to open up and be as sincere as I can. 4K Cinema HD signing out. Peace out. Take care, Aaron.